In a luxurious seaside hotel in Thailand, Lucas and his family were enjoying a wonderful vacation. But in the next moment, a strange wind blew. Mother Maria's book pages were swept against the window. She approached the glass and sensed something was terribly wrong. The window was trembling. Just as she expected, a massive beast-like wave suddenly appeared. There was no time to react. The tsunami slammed into the resort with unimaginable force. Chaos erupted in an instant. The family of 5 was swept apart by the powerful water and debris. Maria clung desperately to a tree, helplessly screaming in agony. After what felt like forever, Maria heard a familiar voice. It was her eldest son, Lucas. Lucas was in serious trouble, pushed forward by the powerful current. Maria didn't hesitate for a second. She immediately swam toward her son. In the raging waters, they were tossed around like dust in a storm. Maria's chest was sliced by branches. Lucas's head was battered by floating debris. Yet, despite their wounds, the courageous mother and son never gave up. They held tightly to the objects around them, fighting desperately against wave after wave. Finally, the waves began to calm down. They made it through. Mother and son embraced in the water, crying tears of relief and sorrow. Maria and Lucas walked one behind the other. Maria limped in front, while Lucas followed behind with a serious look on his face. He had noticed something terrifying. The skin on Maria's right leg had split open. Even worse, Maria hadn't even realized she was injured. Lucas quickly called out to stop her and pointed to the wound on her leg. He turned around, too afraid to meet his mother's eyes. Maria understood. She told Lucas to walk in front instead. They waited together on a tree, hoping for help. After what felt like a long time, a few local villagers finally arrived. One of the men was elderly. He couldn't carry Maria, so he dragged her instead. The pain from the wound rubbing against the ground was unbearable for Maria. She let out a scream that tore through the jungle. Eventually, she passed out from the pain. The kind villager brought them to a hospital, but the hospital was already overflowing. Everywhere Lucas looked, there were wounded people, broken bodies, and blood. Each scene struck his young heart like lightning. The man prepared to leave. He said many things to Lucas in a foreign language. Lucas didn't understand a word, but he somehow knew how to respond.
Thank you.
He walked over to Maria's bedside. For the first time, he saw just how helpless his mother truly looked. Maria sobbed as she pleaded with the doctor. "I have lost my husband and 2 children. I'm all he's got in the world." The doctor looked at Lucas in silence, then continued his work, injecting antibiotics and cleaning the wound on her leg. After the tsunami, many people came to the hospital looking for their missing loved ones. But the hospital was overwhelmed. Doctors and nurses were too busy to help with reunions. Not long after her surgery, Maria saw the chaos around her. She looked at Lucas and said, "Go help them, son. You can do it." Lucas hesitated a little. "Can you stay here alone?" he asked. Maria smiled and told him, "Don't worry, just go." Lucas stood up and left. He soon met a man who showed him a family photo, pointed to one of the kids, and told Lucas the child's name. Lucas looked at the man and said, "I'll help you, I promise." He began walking through the hospital, calling out the child's name to everyone he passed. He searched for a long time, but didn't find the boy. Just when it seemed like he might give up, a patient lying in bed stopped him. The man didn't know anything about the missing boy. Instead, he asked Lucas to help find his own son. Without hesitation, Lucas pulled out a notebook and pen, wrote down the new boy's name, and memorized it. Time passed, but Lucas still hadn't found a single child. Instead, the list of names in his notebook kept growing.
Sorry, what's your name again?
Renata Castorini.
Tatiana Cherneshova.
Yet he never complained. He kept walking around, asking every person, one by one. No one knew how long he kept going. But finally, as he walked into a room and called out a name, a young boy answered. It was the missing son of the very first man Lucas had met. Lucas ran back and found the father. The two reunited with tears in their eyes, hugging each other tightly. At that moment, all of Lucas's exhaustion felt worth it. He ran back to his mother's hospital room, excited to share his joy with her. But as he entered the room, his steps slowed. The smile on his face disappeared. Maria's hospital bed was empty. Tears streamed down Lucas's face as he shouted, "Mom!" in every direction, but no one answered. Just then, some hospital workers came by carrying an injured patient. They planned to place the patient on the bed where Maria had been. Lucas immediately protested. He knew that if the bed was taken, his mother might never return. A nurse walked over and gently held Lucas back. She spoke softly, trying to calm his fear and confusion. Then she brought Lucas to a tent filled with children. After registering his basic info, she placed a sticker on his shirt. Lucas couldn't read the Thai words on the label, but when he looked around, he noticed every child had the same sticker. He couldn't help but think the worst. His emotions collapsed again. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lucas's father, Henry, had survived. Thankfully, he and the 2 younger sons Thomas and Simon, had not been swept away during the tsunami. They were still near the hotel where they had stayed. A kind local told Henry there was now a shelter on the hill and offered to take them there. Hearing this, Henry turned to his middle son Thomas and spoke with deep care. "Take care of your little brother, Simon," he said. "I have to go find your mom and brother." Thomas replied, "I can't do it. I'm scared." Henry gently answered him.
I'm scared too. But do you know the most scary bit for me?
And the water hit?
No, when I came up. That was all on my own.
Then he put both boys in the car. He asked a woman nearby to watch over them. He promised he would join them at the shelter soon. But first, Henry knew he had to fulfill the duty of a father and a man. After some struggle, Henry finally managed to borrow a phone, something incredibly rare at that moment. He immediately called his father-in-law. As soon as the call connected, Henry broke down in tears. With a trembling voice, he told him how he had been separated from Maria and the kids. But the phone's battery was too precious, so the call ended after just a few sentences. After he hung up, everyone nearby could feel Henry's pain. The kind man who lent the phone hesitated, then handed it to Henry again. "You can't just hang up like that," he said. "Finish what you need to say." Henry froze for a second, then took the phone once more. This time, he didn't cry or stammer. Instead, he spoke firmly and promised his father-in-law, "I will find them, I swear." Meanwhile, a nurse found Lucas and brought some good news. "We found your mother." But Maria's condition was critical. She now had to rely on a ventilator to breathe. When Lucas saw her like that, his heart shattered. Maria, struggling to speak, apologized to Lucas for disappearing. Lucas stepped forward and hugged her tightly. All the fear, grief, and worry he had bottled up for days finally poured out in that moment. At the same time, Henry was traveling from one hospital to another, climbing uphill, asking for his family. The road was rough, and he had already passed many hospitals without finding their names on any list. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a familiar figure, the woman he had asked to look after Thomas and Simon. He rushed up to her and asked about his sons. She replied simply, "They're taking them away. They wouldn't let me go with them." Then she hurried off. Meanwhile, Thomas and Simon were sitting in a truck filled with children. No one knew where the truck was going. Back at the hospital, Maria's condition still hadn't improved. Her face was so pale it made Lucas's heart ache. She looked at him and asked, "Can you check how my leg looks?" Lucas slowly lifted the blanket, but after less than a second, he quickly put it back down. He told Maria, "It's okay. It's still red. It hasn't turned black." Maria chose to believe him. She calmly put on the ventilator mask. Once she fell asleep, Lucas quietly slipped away. He rushed to find the nurse and told her the truth about Maria's leg. After hearing it, the nurse immediately arranged for emergency surgery. Meanwhile, after countless setbacks, Henry finally reached the hospital. At that moment, Lucas was picking up bottled water from a relief table. By chance, he spotted Henry's figure in the hallway. He ran after him immediately. At the same time, Thomas and Simon also arrived at the hospital. Simon, desperate to pee, refused to stay in the car despite the driver and Thomas trying to stop him. Lucas had just reached the hospital's entrance, but Henry, who was just steps away, was suddenly nowhere to be seen. Lucas couldn't accept it. He didn't want to feel the pain of being separated again.
It's Lucas!
He hugged his two little brothers tightly. The three of them cried together, tears rolling down their cheeks. Then, a light returned to Lucas's eyes. He saw their father walking toward them. After all the heartbreak, the fear, and the near-death moments, their family was whole again. Lucas led them all to Maria's bedside. Maria opened her eyes, weak and teary. At that moment, she was overwhelmed with emotion. These people in front of her, they were the reason she had kept fighting to survive. This strong woman finally got the ending she had dreamed of. Maria's surgery was a success. The entire family boarded a plane back home. This journey was full of pain and fear. The tsunami had turned their world upside down. But this journey was also full of miracles, because somehow they found their way back to each other.